Gimme here. Who else would it be? This is Observations with Otsu for Monday, December 30th. This is the last Observations Otsu video for the year. Hope you've had a good holiday, good Christmas, which is what I celebrate, a good New Year's to come for those that celebrate tomorrow and the next day. I'm going to keep this pretty short and simple, as you guys know, to kind of take a little personal trajectory first. We've half my family had been in the hospital for about a month and a half now. It depends, on how you look at this. My wife got hospitalized and then had to give birth to our daughter early, about 2.5 months early, and so we're kind of wrestling with that. My daughter's still at the hospital. My wife is back home, but that's caused a lot of logistical complications, and I don't mean that in a bad way because the Lord has been good to us. That we pretty much got the best case scenario. My wife could have easily died. My daughter could have died, and so one of them is back home and healthy. The other one is healthy considering where she's at in the hospital, so everything's doing good. And we've had a pretty good year altogether. I really do feel blessed. I don't make as much money as other people that are in the crypto space, and I'm very aware of that. But I still feel blessed that I am able to navigate the crypto world and trade full time and kind of have a side business, or have a business as well to help out crypto personalities and companies and things like that. So it's really been rewarding. It's been very freeing as well to look at that from a financial freedom aspect, right? So there's a lot of things to be thankful for, I guess, not to be kind of cheesy to the New Year's, but I think that gets lost in translation, because all the time I see questions like, well, how can I make? But I'll condense it to basically say, like, people just want to make the most amount of money with the highest potential in one day or every single day they wake up, and I don't think that that's how it works long term. You need to look at the long term, trajectory of all these things, and also to be grateful for what you have as well. So anyway, enough of me ranting about things pertaining to that. So we will get started. There's no theme for this video. I don't think I'll have a particular theme until I can get back on track. And even if even if my daughter does get out of the hospital, now that's a new person at home. So we'll see how that goes. So no topic, just going to be weekly time frames for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Dogecoin, and Sui. I hesitated because I might only have time to do the first three. You know what? Let's just do the first three: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and then I'm going to look at ETH BTC pair and Sol ETH pair instead to kind of condense them into one little theme, I guess. And I also say that because Sui and Dogecoin aren't really very performative. And I say that as Sui is up 6%, but we will take a look at just the big three, see how that goes, and then we'll do maybe an update. By next Monday. Hopefully next Monday everything is good to go. So anyway, let's go to the weekly. And I did mention I don't have my indicators up, but I do want to mention that on the monthly, we do have some concerns here. I do not like this at all. This is a swing failure pattern, but also this was a liquidity signal on my script. I can't show you the script right now, but this is a concern. I would, knowing my rules on my script, this needs to close bullishly by the end of the month. We have 29 hours to do this, okay? To get above 96.1 or 96.2, I should say. On the 3 week, there's also a signal, but that's 96.500, I think. So right here. So we have conflicting areas. And I guess I won't go into it as much as I wanted to. But I do have my Bitcoin theory video. Maybe I'll just post that instead to kind of show you what I'm talking about. But usually when we get a pump, like, first of all, this is a breaker, barely. But once you have something simple like a liquidity signal like this, it creates concerns, okay? There is a possibility we could just fully retrace this back to low 70s. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think there's a lot of things that would need to take place if it does, but we do have a bearish divergence as well. Not too keen on that. Now, the saving grace, so to speak, would be it would hit the band here on my band, but that's at 70,500. The band would have to come up first, and we kind of meet them in the middle. So we'll see where that goes. The good news is by the time that figures out, that could take 6 months. Okay, so this could play out a few different ways. One, we could get that retraced very soon, get that over with, get that 70,000, be done with it. Or if we spend a couple months to the upside, the band's going to continue to go up, and maybe we retrace only to like 85, 86. That's a possibility. Or again, considering this is the monthly time frame, if many people think the top's not going to be until this time next year, and if that's the case, we're going to get an overstretched, we're going to overstretch here, and then we're going to get a very big blow off top. So one of those three are going to occur. So I don't know. I personally would prefer the third one. I would prefer us just to keep rallying, but this is where I accidentally create some enemies because I just see what the charts see. And so those of you that have been bullish with me, because when I bought here at like 16, 17,000, I was pretty much by myself, okay? And then once we got up to this here, right around the time that the band actually flipped bullish, was when I had a lot of people on my side, and now I'm starting to have the other option. I'm starting to say like, all right, hey, maybe let's put the brakes on this, reconsider, and I'm already by myself in some sense. So I think not altogether. I think there's still some people that think this will go down as well. So we'll see. I don't really care how many people do or don't. Like that's a big psych game on Twitter, especially like, well, if so many people are saying this, then it must be the exact opposite because everybody's stupid. Well, that's not how things go. I understand that's how you want things to go and that's how it's perceived sometimes, but the psychology doesn't always work that way. So I'm rambling here a little bit, but basically those are my three options. I'm just sharing what I see on the charts. I think we're going to get a retrace at some point in the next 12 months. I think that it's more so focused on the immediate. So in the next 3 months, probably within the next 45 days, actually. And so I think that's a good thing if you're a bull, by the way, because we'll get that over with. You'll get cheaper prices, and then you can just ride out the rest of the year. We'll see where that goes. Okay. Um, it's not going to go in a straight line. Just going to tell you. So that's basically in the monthly. But I do want to go back to the weekly here. We have this fib block here that's basically from the daily, but I do want to share this is that we're still within this zone. I quite like how we've sat here. So I do think that we can actually make a rally here. Market isn't looking too bad. I told you we need to get 96.2 before the end of the year. I think we can do that. That's only like 2.5, 3%. We could easily do that. Just put in a good day tomorrow and it'd be done, right? So we'll see where that goes. But this is resting so far pretty well. I mean, this is a weekly time frame, so we have plenty of time. But we got the wick forming. All we need to do is some upside potential. This, in my opinion, would be better served if we consolidate. And so let me put a block here first. I'm not a fan of just going straight up to like 110,000 because that would create another divergence. It would also create another wedge here. So I'm not really interested in like a last thing I want is some sort of confluence of bearish ideas, right? So I think if we just hovered, in between, from current price, basically 95,000 to 100,000, we get above that 96.2, like I said, and then we hover back and forth in the 90s for like January. I think that would be good. And actually, I think that would be very bullish for altcoins. I think a lot of people are not focusing on altcoins right now because Bitcoin is looking kind of like stale. But this is the perfect time for altcoins to run. Hyper liquid in general, kind of a new thing going on, is doing really well. Solana coins are doing really well, and so I think you just not kind of need to pick your battles with that. But I think the weekly here looks pretty good. Aaron is starting to cross up bearish, which we probably will get a bearish consolidation, which would kind of make it just go in a range. And so this is your bigger range, 108 to the upside, 91.5 on the downside. I think we'll just kind of hover there. That's kind of what I'm looking at, right? So anyway, that's pretty much it for Bitcoin on the weekly. Now on the daily, made a lot of chicken scratch here. I'll get rid of this larger context because that's not important right now. Here's the red trend line, and it's doing pretty well. But we also have this fib block, and I pointed this out on a previous chart. But basically, this is where the deviation started, came back below. Now it kind of it held and it's kind of working out pretty good. So this could hold here. I think there's a chance that this could hold. I would prefer that it did, okay, because we still have one more chance below this at like 89,000 in the middle. But that's going to be very risky, especially with all the higher time frame noise that we could expect, right? So I think a bounce here would be good. Again, I'm mainly focusing this week to get to 96.2, 96.5, depending on the time frame and the exchange. Um, on to get to basically get that for the week or really for the year, which is again closest tomorrow. So that's what I'm focusing on. I'm not concerned about anything else right now because somebody asked me today, in fact, like what they wanted to find altcoin, and you know who you are, but and I'm not picking on you by any means. I just thinking of this. Somebody asked me like, "Hey, I want to search for altcoins in the market that can outbeat Bitcoin for the rest of the cycle." And my response was, "Well, that's going to be easy to do, because even if we go to 250,000, that's only like 180% or 100, yeah, like it's less than like 200%, I think. So if you go up to here, I know we're in speculation zone right now, but so like a little over, 250, or you're looking at like 167%, you know, you could almost pick an altcoin at random, especially a small cap, and you could do that. So that's not going to be a difficult decision to find that. It's just, do you want to do that? And I also say this inversely for people that are focusing on Bitcoin. Do you think it's worth holding spot Bitcoin for another 167%? I mean, and even if you go to a million, that's only going to be four times that, which is still pretty good. That's still very, very good. What a privilege it is to say that 160% is nothing, right? But comparing it to altcoins that could do a 10x, or some of the coins we talked about in premium that did 30x, 160% is not very much. So that's up to you. I'm not going to say yes or no, but the thing is, the upside is going to be limited, and that's why I'm going to bring this home for Bitcoin to say your upside potential for the rest of the cycle will be limited on Bitcoin, and then altcoins will probably make a run. Altcoins have been dropping for the past 2 weeks, and they're starting to look a little bit more attractive here. So I think that's a good indication that we could look elsewhere and see where the performances in the market could be. So anyway, that's Bitcoin. Let's go to Ethereum. All right, let's go ahead and go to Ethereum. Now, really quickly, I want to focus on the daily first, how we have this bearish retest. This is one reason I am just frankly more bearish on Ethereum, because it's failing the zone. We had basically a double top, depending on how you want to view that. Well, just lack of time, that's how I'm going to accept that. We had a drop down, bearish retest, and now we have a consolidation right in the middle. And so this is not very good, okay? In fact, we're kind of breaking a little bit above on the upside. If you want to look at this from a 4 hour perspective even more, it's really just going to be this, okay? And it kind of broke down here, kind of retesting back up. We'll see. It needs to go over 34.20 for this. And even then, we still have to break the higher zone here at about 35.15 in the middle, or really just this marker here, at basically 3,500 or 34.90. So there's a lot of complex price points here, like every $20 or something. That's also problematic because it's not very clean, right? And because it's not very clean, you can't do high probability trading. I'm a big fan of high probability trading. If there's not something that's openly obvious to me, I don't want to trade it. I just don't. I'd rather do high time frame spot, okay? And so we can just kind of leave it as it is, and that's kind of the basis foundation for Ethereum for me. I know that's the 4 hour and the daily, but that does kind of bleed into the higher time frames because we're kind of at a standstill right now. So let's go ahead and focus on the weekly. We had the same thing, honestly. We had this deviation here, and I look for deviations the most because they give me the most insight on the market. We had a push above the zone, okay, push into the wick area, and then we came back down after 2 weeks. It's not a good sign. Not only did we come back, we actually came back to two levels. So this is a bearish breaker, okay, which means it actually could come up all the way to 3,800 and still reject downwards into the 2,000 ranges, the high 2,000s, I should say. So that's going to be problematic. It's very confusing to me. I don't really like this at all. I really, really, really don't. I think Ethereum, I've said this before, but I'm going to go even more extreme. I think Ethereum is the worst coin in the market today as far as, the availability and its performance. Ratio of availability to performance, Ethereum sucks. It really does. And like within the past 3 years, it's pretty much just tripled. Okay, and that's not very. That's not really good. I mean, it's still definitely still good by boomer standpoint, right? For legacy and things like that. But really, I mean, just it's quite a frustrating move. But you still have this bearish retest here that does coincide with the daily and the 4 hour I just talked about. So we have kind of a all time frames are focused on this level, and that's why I'm focusing on the 3500 area, 3520, or it's 3500 give or take like $20 on either side. And it just needs to clear all that. Honestly, I would just be fine if it just cleared 3550 to just to make it easier for us to look at this. Because all time frames are kind of locked into this, right? We have the errand is trying to cross up bearishly. It probably won't, but because you got this wick right here, so it's probably going to do another bearish consolidation, and then we'll see where it goes. If this doesn't recover in the next month, it's going to get a bearish cross, and then we definitely are heading back to 2000. So it's really depressing here, and I think Ethereum is a good look on how the market could bleed out a little bit. So I do want to go to quickly to ETH BTC to kind of show how this looks. I honestly don't like Bitcoin pairs anymore because they pretty much all look like this. They're all just dying out. Like this is a sign of a dying coin. And I don't want to say that Ethereum is dying. Obviously, it's not, right? But as far as its performance, like Bitcoin has been, if you inverse this, right? I hate inversing charts, but you can see like it's been going up since Bitcoin's been going up since September 22 versus Ethereum. Okay, so why even try at that point? And we can try to look at this. We can try to measure this. I've seen it try to measure here and here, and now we're just kind of in the middle of nowhere with this. And you're pretty much looking at this staying point right here. And so, could we recover? Yes. Is that something I'm going to watch out for? Yes. But as far as this goes, I mean, this isn't too bad. It does have a confluence of support, so maybe that will change. Maybe it will. This actually would be a good place to do that. But it's got very lackluster performance. You do have a bullish wedge coming in front, so hopefully this changes. Hopefully we see some bullish price action. If we do, Ethereum might be the runner versus Bitcoin for the rest of the cycle. So we'll see how that goes. You just don't really know, I guess. But I guess going up to here is like 120. So, but if it's like 120 versus like 160 for the market, for if you go to 250,000 Bitcoin, it's still not going to be that grave an R&R, at least not worth flipping your portfolio on, right? So it remains to be seen. I do think this looks pretty good. Actually, I'm probably going to mark it just in case because it looked better than I thought it did. But um, we'll see where this goes. Ethereum, pretty lackluster on that one. And at least as far as USD value, it's probably not going to change too much just yet. So anyway, that is Ethereum. Let's go ahead and close this out and go on Solana. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Solana. I will cover the Solana ETH pair as well. We're going to look at this from the weekly perspective first, because there's not really anything special going on with this, but we still have the same thing as Ethereum on this. We had you had a channel here on lower time frames. I need to get rid of this. But we had a push up above. This kind of counts as a deviation on two fronts because we had this here. Okay, it broke above this zone and it also broke below this zone. So kind of similar situation with Ethereum, but it's kind of much more expanded. So this is your deviation point. This is your breaker point. So bearish deviation, bearish breaker. Both of those are bad signs. Typically, that does take a little bit of effort to get back up there. So we'll see where that goes. That's one reason why I'm like I'm bearishly bullish, if that makes sense. Like I still think all bets are on to go upward, right? But I do think it's going to take some time. And so that could mean, so for Bitcoin, I do think that's going to get us a dip for maybe the next month or 2 months, even three. But with Solana and Ethereum, I think it's going to be a slower build up, maybe a drop first and then a build up after that, or vice versa, right? So I think the next 3 months are going to be much more problematic, and where I think the rest of the year, I think the first 6 months of 2025 will be a little bit more harsher than the last 6 months, if that makes sense. So, and I think part of that is good, in my opinion. Get all the bad crap out of the way, and then we can focus on riding it. We can cash out, and then we can just chill for 4 years or whatever, right? So that, or 2 years, whatever. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. That's kind of the basis of what I'm looking at with this. Your retest for the weekly here is like 202. Basically, I think flipping 200 would actually just be fine here, and to see if we can get that. Again, another try to attempted cross up on the bear side. It's going to lead into a bearish consolidation, which will probably make us come back down to 185. I'm not honestly interested in trading at all right now for these, at least for long term perspective, because I think one, we need to flip to get confirmation, but two, this could also go down, right? And so I'm still trading obviously with swing trades and things like that. Long or short doesn't matter to me. But we'll see where this goes. Now, good news is we are hovering above the 50 RSI. I think that looks pretty good. And so we'll see where this goes. I really want this to flip. If you high confidence for me would be to flip, 209, 210, preferably 210 and see if that holds. I would be much better off doing that. I've actually sold some of my Solana since this push above, mainly because I wanted to rotate into other coins. Actually, I do think it's time. Just as Bitcoin, it's time for Bitcoin to stall, and you could rotate into altcoins. I think Solana too into some Solana coins. There's a lot of Solana coins that are doing okay right now, honestly. And so we'll see how that goes. Trisig is one of them that looks pretty good. So it's pretty much what I see on Solana. Now, as far as daily here, still below here on the 50 here, you have this consolidation structure on the 4 hour. I do quite like this. I do think we could run up here, but this could also be, um, looked at as like a continuation pattern. I don't particularly like that on the downside. Usually that means we're going to go down, but we'll see. We'll see if this pushes up. A lot of ascending triangles have not done very well in the past year or two, from my experience. Now, we do have a bullish cross right at the mid marker, so it's not a bad sign, not a good sign. It's definitely not a good sign or a bad sign. It's an okay sign for bulls. Just another chance to try again, basically, is what that means. The higher the better, but right in the mid is like a no decision. But we'll see. This is a good level that we could reclaim. Again, really nothing else needs to be said other than I want to get above 200 at a minimum, but 210 preferred. And so we'll see where that goes. But that's kind of where, it's kind of the end of the video. But as far as adding a summary to this, like, this is where, like, at the end of this time of the market, we have a day and a half, a little bit over one day before the yearly close. I'm okay just staying sidelined for now. Like, not even staying sidelined, just like not selling but not buying either, just because I want to wait to see what the market's going to do, right? And so I'm perfectly fine just kind of being how it is. You're going to have down weeks. You should have down weeks that will help you perform better when the market gives itself opportunity. It's just like baseball. Like, if you wait for a pitch long enough, you'll get the pitch that you want, right? So it'll work out in your favor. It can work out in your favor much higher likelihood if you wait for trades to come to you versus trying to chase these trades, when the market doesn't seem like it's willing to even care about it. So anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think. I hope you have a good year, New Year's. I'll see you next time.